When you play the Game of Thrones, you
Subscribe and like.
or you die. There is no middle ground.
All right, hello YouTube. Welcome back to the Grease Comedy YouTube channel. Today's video, we're going to be trying to figure out a mystery that is told to us really in the second chapter of the book. How did the wolves, or specifically the mom of our main wolves, Ghost, Greywind, and our main wolves, how did she get south? It's very much left open to interpretation. There's a couple of theories, so we're going to talk about that in today's video. But this video today is sponsored by Dakota. If you do go for the top membership option, you do get a chance to ask for some sort of video if I accept it. And so this is what Dakota wanted to do. I thought it was a really cool, interesting idea. So thank you for all the support from my members and Patreon. So let's talk about how this wolf or direwolf made it south. So let's look at the options. So the first option is that, and again, this is an option that's kind of hard to discuss. This option is quite weird because we're given the information that direwolves have not been spotted south of the wall in hundreds, if not thousands of years. So this is a very rare occurrence. But what if the direwolves had just been living in areas that are not very populated, right? We know a lot of the land very close to the wall is very loosely populated. It would be quite easy for something to go unnoticed in that area. But the problem becomes, okay, how do you get down closer to Winterfell? And throughout these years, nobody is seeing this direwolf that has to survive somehow on hunting and things like that. It's never been spotted. It kind of seems like, it seems questionable that that would occur, but that is an option. The next option is the idea that possibly it could be Bloodraven or even Bran later on in the story, maybe using some sort of time travel, sending the wolves to the Starks because they'll have a really big importance to the story. All that's possible. Now, how would that occur, right? So we have to think, how would this wolf get south of the wall? Now, it could be that they were let in through the wall. Maybe a Night's Watch member, their conscience was taken over. Maybe they just allowed the wolves to go south. I don't know why that would be an option unless there was some sort of connection to Bloodraven and the old gods. That all seems very plausible and likely and could have happened given what we see happens at the Night Fort, given Cold Hands and all that. It's very likely that that could have happened. Another option that we have to build upon this theory is the idea that maybe instead they went to the very western side of the wall and they went around, going from the top. That's possible as well, but when you think about the idea that the wolf was pregnant, alone, or at least at some point it became alone, there was no other wolf with her, it seems kind of questionable. Also, how does that direwolf then travel all the way through like the top part of Westeros without being spotted? I should say more the north, not in Westeros, but it doesn't get spotted for being an abnormally large wolf until it ends up being found by the Starks. It just seems very questionable that it kind of dies when it does and the Starks finding it. It seems too on the nose for it to be left up to coincidence. And so what I think happens regardless of how it got south of the wall, it was planted there to give these wolves to the Stark children. That seems fairly obvious. Now, the question we have to answer is who did it? Was it Bloodraven's intervention? We know that there seems like there's an idea that Bloodraven is controlling Mormont's raven. Could he also have been controlling this direwolf and maybe even somehow getting her pregnant to give the direwolf cubs, to give the direwolves to the children? Now, it also seems a little suspicious that the direwolf has just the right amount of pups. There just seems like there's too many things that are not adding up for it to be a coincidence. There seems like Bloodraven had to be intervening, or maybe even Bran, right? If we go off the idea that there could be some sort of time traveling, something that Preston Jacobs popularized in the community, if we build upon that and we build upon what we saw in the show with this idea of Bran being able to go back in time, this could be likely that Bran saw that there needs to be the wolves. That is vital to the story. Think about all the things that go on with the wolves and how they're valuable to the story. The first one, Ghost is the one that actually finds the others, right? When we have the others come back south of the wall and they attack Jeor Mormont, that's because of Ghost. Ghost finds that hand. Also, we see that Ghost is the reason Jon Snow is able to survive, as well as Jeor Mormont as well. Ghost is very pivotal into saving John and forwarding the story, focusing it on the others and that they are real and the main threat. We see the other direwolves maybe not as successfully. Again, it seems like once Lady dies, Sansa is disconnected from the old gods in the north. We see the same thing with Robb. When Robb starts kind of separating from Grey Wind, it creates issues, right? He gets into trouble. And Robb doesn't listen to the messages that Grey Wind is telling him, that the Freys are untrustworthy, that something is wrong here, how he scares off the Freys, how he's not allowed to be at the wedding, really. All of this seems a little bit on the nose, that these wolves are actually like the angels or the protectors of the Starks. When you lose them, it's detrimental. We look at Rickon and Shaggy Dog. Likely Shaggy Dog has been one of the main reasons Rickon has been able to stay alive, or at least somewhat okay from what we know of so far. Arya, when we look at Arya and Nymeria being separated, it didn't really change Arya's connection to the old gods, and that's because Nymeria is still alive and Arya is quite frequently within Nymeria's body. But think about what we see with Nymeria. Nymeria pulling Catelyn out of the river, which then creates Lady Stoneheart. What ripple effect will that have on the story? If we even think about the large wolf pack, what will that have on the story? There's so many question marks that we still have in which the wolves could play massive roles. What will Summer be a part of in terms of the story? Will Summer be a wolf that gives their life for Bran, or does something else that's very vital to the story? We just don't know, right? I mean, without Summer, Bran would not even be alive. So there's so many things that you look at that and you go, it seems like the wolves were placed here for a reason. It was not an accident. And so when I look at the answer to this theory, this question, I think you really have to look at it as it's some other intervention. It's not just a natural occurrence. It's some other power playing a game and using the wolves to protect the Starks, or at least to try and help them on their journeys. But thank you for the question. Thank you for the topic. I thought it was a really interesting one, Dakota. And I will see you guys all in the next video. Bye, guys.